that honey taught me what no one did.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Unplugged. For today, we're going to talk about media production. There are certain rules for design, and these rules can be summed up in the acronym CRAP, which stands for contrast, repetition, alignment, and proximity. For the sake of making this lecture coherent, we're going to focus on visual design, but the principles we will talk about here can actually be applied to non-visual design such as sound and motion. For the first rule, we have what we call contrast. Now, contrast, from the literal meaning of the word, is simply making sure that elements stand out from each other. And how do we do that? We make sure that in terms of elements such as color, tone, size, and direction, the viewer can easily move through your design. When we say move through, we're talking about the movement of the eyes here. For example, let's say you have a background that's, let's say, colored green. Your subject should have a color that's really opposite to green. Let's say like the one that you see here on the left side of the definition. When it comes to tone or value, you just, let's say it's the same color, but you just change the shade. Let's say you have a lighter shade of green on the right and a darker one on the left. As for sizes or shapes, let's say you have a square on the left and a circle on the right. For direction, especially if let's say you're designing, for instance, a maze game, maybe you can have the viewer move to the left and then have the viewer's eyes move upward or forward, as long as there's contrast. So the importance of having contrast is to make the viewer feel that he or she is looking at something new and not the same thing all throughout. The next rule might make you question the importance of this one, of contrast, because the next rule is what we call repetition. If contrast is meant to eliminate monotony, will repetition contradict that? Not necessarily, because when we want to ensure contrast, we want to do it in a way that is balanced, meaning to say we should control our contrasts through repetition. Now, repetition is simply establishing a pattern on your design. Let's have PowerPoint presentations as our example. Let's say, okay, on the right you'd see squares with dots. Let's say you assign the rectangle with 4 dots, you assign that template to your title slide, title of your presentation, and then the rectangle with 2 dots, you assign that to your transitional slide, which contains the subheadings to your main heading. And then the smaller rectangles with 1 dot each, the informational slide, the one containing the actual explanation of the concept. And if you do that consistently, you're ensuring a clear pattern, and then that repetition will help your reader know that, okay, I'm reading a title slide, let's say types of rocks, and then the slide with 2 dots is a subheading, let's say sedimentary rocks. Now the ones with 1 dot each, it's a definition or example of sedimentary rocks. So as you can see here, it's to establish a pattern. Consistency is key here. While you're ensuring contrast, yes, we've ensured contrast through the number of dots, differing number of dots, but at the same time, we made sure that the contrasts are meaningful through repetition. If you have more than one title slide, make sure all title slides have 4 dots each. Make sure that all your transitional slides have 2 dots each, and informational ones 1 dot each. The next principle is what we call alignment. Let's have Microsoft Excel spreadsheets as our example here. It reads here that proper alignment in a design means that every element in it is visually connected to another element. Alignment allows for cohesiveness. Nothing feels out of place or disconnected when alignment has been handled well. Have you ever checked your text in each cell when you make an Excel spreadsheet? Do you check the vertical and horizontal alignment if they're centered or aligned to the left or right? Yes, I'm very particular when it comes to that aspect. I really format each cell in a way that the headings in each column are centered consistently, while the actual data below are either aligned to the left or centered. If it's a long stretch of data, such as the full name of a student, I make sure that each name is aligned to the left. Like what you see here. If it's, let's say, age, a very small piece of information, I put them in the center. Alignment to the right, I rarely use this. Anyway, again, when we say proper alignment, the game here is to make sure that everything is in its proper place. So check for vertical and horizontal alignment. And if you do that consistently, then your work will be easy on your viewer's eyes. And then the last principle is what we call proximity, which refers to the distance between certain elements. Now, proximity is meant to create unity. Let's say you're designing an infographic and you have at the center, let's say, the main concept, such as, let's go back to sedimentary rocks. So sedimentary rocks, the term sedimentary rocks is at the center, and then you have on the sides examples of sedimentary rocks. You want them to be close to each other so that the reader will know they belong to each other, they're connected. Not like this, where sedimentary rocks is very far away from its examples. If you want a more practical example, the one that's close to you, let's say you're designing or writing a Microsoft Word document. Now this one is textual design. Let's say you have a text box. You'd want the text box to be consistently close to the item it is connected to. What if your text box is let's say your text box contains a certain paragraph, and then you want to connect it to a subheading, which is, let's say, the title of a story. So let's say the one inside the text box is your story, the story itself, and then the one beside it is or above it is the title of the story. You'd want things to be close to each other. So that's proximity. If you want to remember all four, just remember the acronym CRAP: contrast, repetition, alignment, and proximity. These principles work together and not in isolation. If you try to understand them separately, you might have a hard time thinking about how they work together. Just a tip, the next time you design your, let's say, mock app, or you create your documentary, you edit your videos, think about the principles. Check if you've observed contrast, if the elements stand out, repetition if there's a clear pattern, alignment if all the objects are in their proper places, and proximity if corresponding elements are reasonably close to each other. So thank you for watching. Continue surviving in the dark for the next episode.
You gave me everything from the start, without me knowing you would always steal from me. Every time I looked where you wanted, I didn't know you were already sucking from me my every ounce of focus, which I could have directed to the cause I am truly fighting for. So I'm going to press the power button and push your head down. Not minding the surprise, I'm going to leave my chair behind, together with your face, and I looked away from the black screen.